Hello, I'm starting this video off slightly differently. I hit a serious brick wall when it comes to progression. So much so that in the last video I went round a lot of old locations just to see if I could click something into place that I had missed. I went through several guides to see if I had missed anything, but it turns out that I've been doing everything correctly. There is one location that we haven't seen in this playthrough yet, but we will see it in this video. But progression there stalled pretty early on, so there was no point showing us up until now. But I was getting prepared to shove objects in people's faces. Oh no, let's not do that. So for example, we have all these useless items that we can do nothing with. But I was getting tempted to go around every location and use every object to every person. But before then, I just thought, I wonder if I had missed anything on the analysis table. And I went through old videos and I had missed nothing. And I thought I'd just try them anyway, because if you try to analyze something that you've already analyzed, this message comes up. There we go. And for some reason, one of them didn't actually register the first time around. I have no idea why, but let's try this one again.
The brown stain is water-based.
Is it tea or coffee?
Neither, I suspect.
And that was the problem. This is why I could not progress, because something that I had done before, I had to do again for some unknown reason. Either there was a glitch or it didn't register. I don't know. But anyway, let's carry on with the game.
Come in, Mrs. Hudson. Come today at your convenience. Bledsoe awaits with the equanimity of a ring-tailed lemur in a room of rocking chairs. There will be conditions, but you won't mind that, I suspect. J.F. The elusive Bledsoe run to earth. I suppose we must see him eventually, though my hopes are not high.
Farthington has taken some trouble. We shouldn't be discourteous.
Okay, I guess we should return to Farthington.
Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson, may I present Mr. Philip Bledsoe? I leave you alone. Mr. Holmes, please remember your pledge. No badgering.
And here he is, and I believe he will be here for the one and only time. And it's possible to end the talking early as well.
Thank you for seeing us, Mr. Bledsoe.
Thank Farthington, I was dragooned. I'm sorry you feel coerced. Spare me the pleasantries and state your business. Fair enough. On my brother's behalf, I'm looking into the disappearance of Professor Dewar's formula from the ministry. You can prove your bona fides, I presume. What kind of cigarettes do you smoke, Mr. Bledsoe? I have an Egyptian blend made up for me at Randall's. What of it? Just curious, Mr. Bledsoe. A habit of mine. When did you last look at Dewar's formula? I never saw it. I checked it out, but I didn't break the seal. I returned it. The clerk will verify my account. Regrettably, Mr. Pratt can supply no such thing, which is one of the reasons we're talking. But never mind. Please be responsive to the original question, Mr. Bledsoe. If I want bullying, I can go to the Gadfly. I checked it out because I take my duties seriously. I'm behind in my document reading. Very commendable, I'm sure. I assume you know that Pratt was found murdered. Do you know where we might find any of his associates or Mrs. Ratchet? Now you're on to something. Why do you say so? I've had thoughts about those two. They were both on duty when I went home. I know nothing of his social set, but Pratt's fondness for bathhouses is well known. Local ones, I should think. What about Mrs. Ratchet? The woman lives somewhere out east. Radicals all over the place. In other words, you know nothing about either one. Presumably you know my brother has been hospitalized. Yes. I suppose the investigation will be indefinitely postponed. Your concern is touching. The explosion that injured him was no accident. I had nothing to do with it, I assure you. I hope not. The attempt on his life was related to the formula's theft. I had nothing to do with that either, if there was a theft. Don't be quite so literal, Mr. Bledsoe. I'm asking for your help. Certainly you see now that these events are related. The termination of the inquiry into the theft is necessarily connected to them both. That wasn't my idea. I'm innocent of initiating anything that might be construed as criminal. That narrow view will cause you grief someday, Mr. Bledsoe. Perhaps sooner than you think.
Yes, if you choose the awkward to find you option, it ends the conversation.
Why did you vote to terminate the committee's investigation into the theft? The government can't tolerate another scandal. Charges of incompetence and lack of security are terribly damaging. A theft hadn't been proved. Why advertise the worst? I certainly don't need the aggravation. Gutter Press would have a field day. There is more at stake here, sir, than your personal comfort. That's right. Twist my words. I only meant that things go missing all the time and they turn up none the worse. Everyone except your brother was in favor of dropping the investigation, at least temporarily. If not yours, whose idea was it to quash the investigation? It might have been Lawton. Or perhaps Silverbridge. One or the other. It's awkward to find you via Farthington. Where might we reach you if the need arises? I like to present a moving target to my enemies, Mr. Holmes. Never stay in one place too long. Scurrilous news hounds are always trying to corner me. Until this blows over, you should consider me unavailable.
Okay. I thought there was more to talk about, but obviously not. Oops.
Won't be a moment, gentlemen. The sample portraits are my calling cards. Feast your eyes and help yourselves.
(1846). It doesn't look like he is in his 40s. Well, he'd have to be in his 60s, I guess. I mean, that's if he started this business up in 1846. Now, before we speak to him, there are a couple of things that we can actually show him. I believe this photograph originated from here. I think this is where we got the address from.
Who is the person depicted in the photograph?
Lieutenant Basingstoke. He recently succumbed to cholera in Suez. Shocking loss for all who knew him. How have you come by it?
By accident. Is it unique?
Hardly. I must have made 10 copies. Extraordinarily sharp image, if I do say. I wonder how it was damaged.
And there's also the photograph of the formula just here as well.
For whom did you make this copy, Hargrove?
That's not my work.
Nonsense. You are accused and convicted from your own mouth. I recovered this from a foreign agent, Hargrove. You are at least a dupe, and perhaps a traitor.
That's abusive language. I'll advise my solicitor to take steps, or I may seek satisfaction myself.
Observe, I am not petrified. Your threat has less bite than a cuttlefish. Watson, don't let Mr. Hargrove hurt himself attempting something foolish. Mr. Hargrove, my name is Holmes. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
I never haggle over price. You may check my book for an available sitting.
Thank you, no. I merely require some information.
Mr. Humes, is it? Information is not my business. I am an artist.
You're too modest, sir. You may know much to my purpose.
Is he pronouncing the name incorrectly on purpose?
Your business is thriving in a competitive market. How do you account for your success?
Quality will out. People of taste appreciate my work.
Whom do you honor with red ink?
My memory for minutiae is terrible. Like all great artists, I must write down everything to do with commerce. Forget my own name one day.
You either began this business in infancy, or your card contains a printer's error. Surely your studio was not established in 1846.
No, yes, I mean, well, not precisely. The public appreciates a business with longevity. I, as it happens, was established on that date in 1846.
I would have thought your clientele would reward a less traditional sensibility. But I'm not in business, am I? Born in a leap year under the sign of Aquarius, were you?
Quite.
So what, he is the product?
I see you are on the national telephone.
This is not an exchange, Mr. Humes. There is a public instrument in the post office at Marble Arch.
Do people still sit for daguerreotypes in this day and age?
It's time-consuming, of course, but many of my discerning clients prefer the unique positive image. A daguerreotype is an unreproducible jewel of unmatched clarity.
Did Basingstoke reveal why he wanted to be photographed?
No, I never ask. But I suppose the desire to stall the march of time informs all possible reasons. An image is an aid to memory.
But it captures nothing essential. It's less than a fly caught in amber. No vitality or habits of mine are preserved.
I don't believe, sir, that my studio can hold any further interest for you.
Oh, it does.
I saw the portrait you did for my friend, Lord Lawton, and his fiancée.
And you were impressed. They are a handsome couple, are they not? Might I do the same for you and your intended?
Not at the moment. Do you use gold chloride to tone your paper?
Never. My printing out paper is unique, sir. The finest Godin gelatin silver. But instead of chloride, I use well, another salt. I trust you are not going to become a competitor.
I believe I have seen more of your work, sir.
I'm not surprised. It appears in many of the city's celebrated addresses. Whom have you viewed?
I'm not certain, but the brilliant finish of the paper is reminiscent of your style. Where do you keep duplicate negatives?
I have no storage facilities.
What if Lady Lockridge were to lose or damage hers?
A truly skillful photographer could achieve something with the positive, but that's beside the point. You had other business with me.
Most studios now use the collodion development process, do they not?
They do, and I say let them. I provide choices. My unique collodion technique produces distinctively excellent results which cannot be imitated by any jackass who calls himself a photographer.
Is not all collodion development basically the same? Phenol to reduce, sodium sulfite for control, and the thiosulfate solution to fix.
Excuse my snorting. Your ignorance is common. I won't divulge my methods, but I will say, for example, that cyanide in skilled hands is a better fixative than thiosulfate could ever be.
I believe I've happened upon a sample of your work, Mr. Hargrove.
You're a collector, then? I'll have to number you among my admirers, Mr. Helms.
The name is Holmes, Sherlock Holmes.
I've heard that name, I'm sure. What do you have?
You've been playing a very dangerous game, Hargrove, and I intend to put you out. You'll want more privacy, I think. Let's go in back.
We will momentarily.
Remarkable picture of Lord Halliburton's affianced. Hargrove is skilled.
The image is sharp and brilliantly finished. Best of all, it bears little resemblance to the woman herself. Without the legend, I would never have recognized her.
Were she to retire from society, the photograph would enhance her reputation. The portrait probably makes better conversation. There's something odd about her costume. Do you see it?
I defer comment. Fashion is not my field.
Stitch Rumsey's expert opinion would be welcome. Things may not be what they seem here, Watson. Discretion must be our watchword.
I'll follow your lead.
It appears that Lady Lockridge was reluctant to have her own dubious taste exposed to scrutiny.
That seems a harsh indictment. Bad taste is not the same as bad character.
Do not reproach me for giving voice to a sentiment you share. I saw your expression at her home, and I observe your expression now.
You're right. I should know that round you I can never seem to be better than I am.
Nor can the photographer, Doctor. Pay attention to him. Lady Lockridge's misgivings may be based on more than society's gossip. Despite your best efforts, Doctor, it appears I am not a household word in all quarters.
So I remarked. Such ignorance might be exploitable.
The artist speaks in commercial platitudes, but he's not stupid.
Meaning what?
He speaks of photography as an amusement, a harmless aid to memory, but he is aware of its power. As evidence, photographs eclipse hearsay. Soon they will overtake human testimony.
I understand, but does it matter?
It certainly could, Watson. What if the camera lies?
Excuse this expression, but let's expose him. Although that might be in bad taste.
You have no special privileges here. Go peddle your ridiculous accusations elsewhere, or I shall call the police.
No, Mr. Hargrove. The tables have turned. I may call them myself. Remark, Watson. Pornography is so predictable.
That is a libelous characterization. I am an artist.
We won't argue the point now. Let's just say you're an idiot.
I almost thought that this was a painting of Sherlock for a second. Well, if we can actually remove this camera, I'm sure that there is something here to examine. Yes. Hargrove is looking a little bit nervous at the moment. Lovely place.
No doubt your avocation is more lucrative than conventional portraiture.
My business is hardly your concern.
To your misfortune, Hargrove, you and what you are pleased to call your business have become obsessions. Watson, you might ring Lestrade. Tell him to bring a warrant for this reprobate. We're dealing with a habitual criminal, traitor, pornographer, and who knows what else.
Hold on now, you're not the police. Don't be hasty.
I thought I saw a telephone in the background here, but we can't actually do any... Oh, there it is. Sorry. So we can't actually call anyone just yet.
Your distinctive fixing process made you suspect, Hargrove. Your unique printing out paper indicted you.
Others may use the same combinations, not as well, of course.
I believe that under special circumstances, traitors may still be hanged.
We could, perhaps, explore the possibility that I may have been compelled to do something a bit beyond legal, but I'm not a traitor.
Who hired you to copy the formula?
I will not respond while under duress.
You have misread your role, Hargrove. You will dictate no terms. I can make duress a permanent condition of your life. Cooperation may win you consideration. Change your act now, or I will take you down.
Perhaps I've been hasty, Mr. Holmes, but I am terribly frightened. I'm actually a victim in this travesty. Honestly, I didn't wish to do wrong. A lout named Scarrett brought the original document to me and demanded I make a copy.
He's a fat man? Middle-aged? Fair?
No, he's a young blade, dark as an Italian, the eyes of a bipedal predator, and fond of the poppy, I noticed.
You were well paid for your work?
Not a farthing. Money was not offered nor requested. I was forced by other means.
Yeah, but you still did it, though. As much as you claim to be a victim, you still were part of all this. You were the one who did this.
Of all the photographers in London, why were you chosen for this task?
A crisp image of a printed page is not easy. The subject matter added to the difficulty. I have a certain reputation.
Not one you'd like your mother to hear of, I'll wager. You said you were compelled. How? By whom?
These people are savages, Holmes. I can say no more. It was as I'm telling it. Take my word for it.
Not likely. I'm sure you sport the type of vices that make you an easy mark for a blackmailer.
Fine. Let's say some of my more adventurous photographs fell into the wrong hands.
Fell. Okay.
I wonder Scarrett did not request a daguerreotype. He might at least have made a pretense of selling a unique copy.
He rejected my suggestion. Ignorance, I imagine, insisted on the collodion, wanted the negative.
Obviously. But for what purpose? The Prussian would have wanted exclusivity. Perhaps Scarrett intends to sell the formula more than once. Perhaps you kept a copy, thinking you might do some business on your own.
Only the strongest compulsion could make me violate my ethical standards.
Oh, please, your lies are lame, and even your excuses have peg legs. How did you inform Scarrett that the photograph was ready?
He returned at an appointed time.
I think not. He didn't want you to think the work was urgent. No, you telephoned him. That was his idea. He'd want as little exposure as possible. What is his telephone number?
Perhaps I did telephone him, but the number has slipped from my memory. I'm quite remiss in that department.
Your reputation precedes me wherever I go in London, Mr. Hargrove.
You must associate with a fine class of people.
An acquaintance has suggested that you regularly create composites, that is to say, bogus photographs.
Rubbish. Your friend is misinformed. Young people so often are. Composites are an expensive and potentially dangerous business. I wouldn't consider it.
I wish to see the contents of this cabinet. Will you give me the combination?
I never use it. Really, I can't recall the last time I put anything in there. I forget things, you see. They disappear. In all the excitement, I've forgotten it completely. It may come to me, but I doubt it.
Mr. Hargrove, I'm in a position to do you very little good and a great deal of harm.
Is that intended as a warning?
It is simply a fact. Remember it as we speak.
If you insist, Mr. Holmes, I shall try. It must queue up as one of many urgent claims on my memory.
Given his penchant for self-promotion, why is none of his work displayed?
Perhaps it is too artistic for exhibition.
True, salacious subject matter thrives on reputation, but it requires occasional viewing. Perhaps he keeps his naughty bits secreted away, as young boys hide French postcards.
Well, he hides this room away, so surely there should be some more material here. Obviously, the worst of it is going to be in here.
A photographer's chemicals have much in common with those used in the manufacture of explosives.
I'm a novice, as you witnessed.
Cellulose nitrates are the basis of high explosives. Is our photographer a bomber?
I doubt it, and so do you.
If I remember correctly, the early celluloid films were very highly flammable.
Where might Hargrove jot down a telephone number, Watson?
I saw nothing resembling an exchange in the appointments book.
I don't believe he would risk forgetting it. It's likely he has recorded the combination to the safe. If you can suggest where, we might escape another of his lies.
I've no idea. Why do you think he's recorded it?
Because I think he inadvertently told us something true. He said his memory is bad. I suspect it is. He has no reason to lie about it. Have you remarked how the tendrils of this matter creep and entwine around photography?
The formula, Pratt's friend, the engagement portrait, the photos stolen from Lawton's, I know. But making something of it is beyond my powers.
Concentrate, Doctor. My brain is jangling. We are close to untangling this tragic mess.
I'll have to take your word for it.
Yes, apparently Hargrove's memory is terrible. And there is something that we picked up which can help. Oh, there's actually a use function there, so that's kind of given the game away already. But there is several numbers on here. But as you can probably guess, using this is going to work. I'm pretty sure any sympathy for Hargrove is now non-existent. The guy is a disgusting creep.
I have no doubt that this is what Lawton was afraid of. This is what caused him to agree to terminate the ministry investigation.
I'm hopeful that you'll explain yourself.
Do you know the woman in the photo?
She certainly looks familiar.
She should. It's a somewhat younger Alexandra, the Princess of Wales. The plan was diabolical, Watson, and I've been a dunce. Early on, I dismissed the idea of a compromising composite.
Not surprisingly, the idea never crossed my mind. But why did you reject the notion?
I refused to believe Lawton so weak as to risk his nation's security on the strength of a bogus picture, even one that might scotch his marriage prospects. I never dreamed that a royal person would be fitted up as his fictitious partner.
I see. Circulation of such a photo would initiate a scandal. It would sully the monarchy, shake the government, and ruin his personal hopes with Lady Lockridge.
His behavior becomes comprehensible, but not forgivable. He is culpable in this matter. There is still a price for foolishness, though he may not have to pay it in public. Did Skerritt commission the composite of Lord Lawton and the Princess Royale?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Do not trifle with me, Hargrove. You lack the wit and intelligence. Skerritt stole these photographs from Lord Lawton. He hired you to construct a composite from them.
Hardly hired. But I did a beautiful job. The Princess and Lawton look like two lovebirds.
You kept a copy?
Absolutely not. She is a royal personage. Skerritt took the negative.
Whose telephone number have you kept? Is it Skerritt's?
Please, Mr. Holmes, I beg you.
If you expect me to care, you'll have to say more.
I cannot. I will not.
You face ruination and prison, and still you will not help yourself. Who is capable of causing such fear? Not Skerritt, I think. Silence will neither serve nor save you, Hargrove. When I find this fiend, and I will, I'll let it be known that you betrayed him. Give me the name of Skerritt's boss or suffer the consequences. There is no third way.
Major Mystery telephoned. Told me to expect Skerritt and to accommodate him.
Peculiar name. Why did Mystery's message mean anything to you?
The Major is more frightening than a nightmare, and as elusive. That he is never seen, that his disembodied voice personally never threatens, contributes to his reputation for ruthless evil. When the Major asks for something, compliance is guaranteed. Denial is not an option.
What makes you say so?
Henry Chambers' gold watch.
Explain.
Chambers was a friend. He ran afoul of the Major and thought to make his escape. I saw him off for France with his wife and child. They've disappeared. Their luggage sits unclaimed on the quay at Calais. When Skerritt first came in, he showed me Chambers' watch.
Sounds like a nice guy. Okay, we are pretty much done here.
Central Exchange? This is the Lord Mayor's office. A document here requires urgent delivery, but I only have the party's telephone number. Can you supply me with the address, please? Holborn 232. That's just beyond the viaduct, is it? Thank you. Mystery importing indeed. Please connect me to Holborn 232. I beg your pardon. Wrong number. Someone is there, Watson.
Excellent.
Well, there's no time like the present.
Are you ready to proceed, Doctor? The case increases in interest.
And in danger, I imagine. Should the police be notified?
I'd rather circulation of the stories of the ministry theft and the extortion involving a royal person be severely restricted.
Perhaps Hargrove should be immobilized. I wouldn't want Major Mystery or Skerritt prepared for our arrival.
No. Hargrove has parted company with the Major. If he follows his form, the Major will demand swift and violent retribution for the betrayal. Lestrade affords him the only protection he can expect this side of heaven. He won't do anything that might alienate the institution that can protect him. Do we understand one another, Hargrove?
Perfectly. I never saw the formula or the royal person. You were never here. Give me the telephone. Perhaps Lestrade could find me a private cell while his office undertakes a lengthy investigation into an accusation of pornography. I'll suggest it.
Yeah, good luck with that one.